3 years into my job at Helios, and I had come to Nigeria for a board meeting for one of my portfolio companies. So I obviously wanted to exercise, and I booked everyone into a class at a gym. And then the coach was eating shawarma while teaching us. It was just a hot mess. And I was like, I promise, we're not eating shawarma at the gym at 9 a.m. Like, you know, like it was just really awkward. It was smelling, the equipment was not working, and I just thought Nigeria needs to be setting the standard in some way. So I wanted to find a space where you could build community with like-minded individuals, but also get a great workout.
You were working in high finance for almost a decade in the UK. When did you start to realize that your definition of success was maybe quietly breaking you?
Simi Williams spent nearly a decade in banking in the UK before building one of Nigeria's most ambitious wellness brands, Beyond Fitness. Not just a gym, but a movement redefining wellness as power.
I started to raise, so ended up raising about $1 million. The first 250K was just from colleagues and friends. Then I started to dip into, okay, let me see if I can get VC type funding. Then as I was fundraising, I got pregnant, and it was not planned. I had literally signed the term sheet with this Russian VC guy, and he's like, look, pregnancy changes so much. You may not want to do this later. You could give birth. I don't know if you're going to want to do this. If you're going to execute, it's going to be really hard. I would rather wait until you have this done, you have the baby, and that was it. So he was one of the 4 investors that decided not to invest because of the pregnancy. I had to go through the bout of self-doubt inflicted by that rejection. Deciding to helped me get through.
In this conversation, Simi shares what it takes to leave a safe career and protect your joy as a founder and mother. And you spoke about how movement was always your therapy.
Yeah.
Was there a time when you lost that connection, and what did it cost you?
Simi, before Beyond, before the Burnout, who were you trying to become?
So I was trying to be this global wellness entrepreneur, you know, flying across different states every single week, kind of a mirage between, or a combination of my past life, which was private equity, and running a business. But I didn't think about the initial stages of building from scratch. I just saw the finished product, you know, global brand. I'm carrying my baby in one hand, walking on the plane, not very realistic. And I think one thing to understand is expectations and reality. That gap can lead to hot tears. Mm-hmm. But I am incredibly grateful for where I am today, in spite of that expectation.
You were working in high finance for almost a decade in the UK. Mm-hmm. When did you start to realize that your definition of success was maybe quietly breaking you?
I think it was the time I was admitted in the hospital at 26 years old. And I was feeding through a tube through my nose. And I just remember crying and just thinking, like, this is not really my life, especially when I'd known myself to be a really fit, high energy person, you know, that person that keeps pushing all the time. So it was a great reminder that we're all human, right? And you can't just keep going constantly. You need to pause and nurture yourself on the journey to whatever goal you have. So yeah, that was a low.
Was there a specific moment, whether it was physically or emotionally, when you realized I can't keep living like this?
When my mom video called me and broke down, and you know how Nigerian moms can be. I will not bury my child, you know, and then I just thought, okay, this is a bit dramatic, but really, truly, she has a point. You make these decisions every day, and then you don't realize how they accumulate, especially stress. A lot of us try to brush stress off because you just think, yeah, it's just stress, but it leaves an imprint and it compounds. So if you don't have a time to reset, it can be very disastrous. So seeing my mom in that state, and I guess my sister's really worried about me as well. So I'm the first child, first of 5 girls, little mother hen myself. I think seeing them worry so much when I'm always the strong one just helps me understand that I don't always have to be the strong one, and I need to reassess the way I'm moving with life and how I'm doing things. Yeah.
And I want to take things back to you as a child, right? Does it connect to your future state, right? Being in fitness as an entrepreneur. Did you ever imagine any of those things as a child?
So I always knew I would run my business. Yeah. And every time I worked in any institution, I know my bosses saw that in me as well. Now, in terms of fitness and wellness, so I was always that person, probably the shortest in class, but I would come first in all the races, do all the relays, play the drums, play all the sports. And for me, fitness was really therapeutic. It was almost a way for that mental escape in the midst of chaos growing up. So I found that even with crazy hours in banking and private equity, I would force the team to go with me and attend fitness classes. And they just thought I was insane. And for me, it was a way to reset and escape. So there was a point where I was going to either go to business school or I guess school of hard knock experience. And I chose, I guess, the latter. And I just thought it will make sense to do something I'm passionate about, do it for 2 years and then dip out if it didn't work. Now it's been 5 years. So it didn't quite work out that way. But yeah, that's when I thought I'll give it a shot.
And you spoke about how movement was always your therapy.
Yeah.
Was there a time when you lost that connection and what did it cost you?
Ooh. Yes. So it's happened 3 times actually. And I'll talk about the last 2. The most recent one was actually with Beyond. And it started with the birth of my second, now he's 1. And I think I had learned this lesson on my first though, but yet I was making the same mistake with expecting to adjust the way I adjusted with the first. And I think with every growth spurt in life, you can't predict, you just have to evolve with it. So again, I'm a planner. I had planned that, okay, I would work out at X time, do my physio at X time. And then I had so many changes in my household with childcare, with my team. So I just couldn't get back to fitness as quickly as I wanted to. And because for me, it's not about the aesthetics, it's actually therapeutic. I really did struggle. I had postnatal depression with the first. With the second, it wasn't as acute because I was more aware of what happened the first time, but it happened again. And I really did struggle to find that strength to deal with the craziness of motherhood, right? The juggle of 2, the juggle of a business, the juggle of Nigeria. And I found that my husband just helped pick me up because he had seen the signs. So that was the last time. The previous time was when I mentioned earlier where with banking, when you first start, you want to prove yourself. And of course, when you are sort of a minority where maybe you're one of the few Black people in the firm, you kind of have that weight on your shoulders as silent and you deserve to be there, but you want to be top rank, get the best bonus, you know how it works. So I was just I was prioritizing pushing and being top ranked without thinking about what it is doing to me as an individual or taking into account the stresses I was facing outside of work. And because for me, I like to always present my best self, almost like a swan where on the surface, you're like graceful, but at the bottom, you're paddling furiously. That was me in banking. And I didn't ask for help on time or even get that excuse to take time off work. I just kept on pushing. And then I ended up in the hospital. So those are the 2 times.
So I want to kind of go deeper into this because our audience really loves when they hear specifically around couples and how they manage, running businesses and things like that. So I believe you and your husband are both entrepreneurs, correct? Yes. And so, I'm curious, how do you guys strike that balance? Number one, we have the same, we all flow, me and Eche, we're in the business together. So trust me, it is a safe space here. But number 2, how did your husband step in or recognize the signs the second time, after having a child? I think that's really important for women to hear, but also for men to hear what it looks like, because I think a lot of times when a woman has a child, they don't understand that she needs to move slower, right? She can't move at the same pace, and she needs to be parented just as she's parenting this new child.
Oof. I mean, so I would cover the first part, right? Those are 2 great questions. The first one about double entrepreneurship homes. See, I was never a fan of that too. So I want to just be open and say that my husband is incredible because even in the midst of my crazy concerns, he was always that steadfast, like optimist. And optimists live longer, so I need to be more like him. But I'm like, you're meant to be the fixed income instrument. I'm meant to be the warrant, right? In terms of the risk, fine, I take that. And then we need a steady base. So I wasn't really pro double entrepreneurship. But I think when I took a step back about giving grace to the other partner and just understanding that we're both figuring things out, and it'll be very selfish if I'm living my dream and then saying he should please hold off because of security, knowing that I believe in him and we serve God and we know that everything will come together for our good. It sounds straightforward, but it really took me a long time to come to terms with that and encourage it. And in terms of navigating that, it is complete chaos. We have to extend so much grace to each other because when children come in the mix as well, there's that tension of the juggle. So it's like, okay, no, but my work is important too. But I have this meeting. And I know for women, we have that natural tendency to deprioritize. So if you're not carefully communicating, it can build resentment where you feel like you've paused everything. And then for the guy, it just feels like he had a baby and life just continues. So grasping and accepting that it will look different for both of us and actually coming to terms with my value system, because I would say, oh, God, then family first, then work. But in reality, I'll be getting pissed off because I can't do work. So I now had to really think about it that, okay, if something happened to my kids or my home or my marriage, would I really be happy with beyond, even if it's a global success? And actually, no, I wouldn't be. So optimizing for that every single day and being honest to myself really helped. Now, in terms of the second question, so with a new baby, you're both sleep deprived. That's a form of torture. You feel delirious. And then if you're hustling to breastfeed as well, it's just another thing to think about. So you have that stressor of not even wanting to be touched or cuddled or, the intimacy is a big deal for men and women too. But for men, they haven't been there, so they can empathize with you. So for them, you've had a baby, but they're like, but I'm still your baby. Like, why are we not hanging out as much? Why are we not cuddling? And then you having to explain in a way that also has empathy for the other person that, okay, look, like I'm tired and things are really hard. My body doesn't feel the same. I'm really struggling to understand who I am again. It takes a level of grace and patience on both ends. And I think for him, the signs were me just being very sad, but still very functional. So I'll get everything done, but I'm really down. So I'm functioning, moving, but there's just no joy in it. The second one would be being very snappy, right? Especially when it came to things I would normally be patient about with kids or with help or with the team. So losing that patience. And then the third would be not working out, right? So he noticed that, okay, you're not moving as much. You're really just silently depressed, not smiling, not joyful, getting things done. And you're being much more snappy. And then he's like, okay, maybe you should take a day to yourself. Maybe you should try and do this, find joy. And that's how he helped me through it. Just recognizing that from the onset.
When did the idea of Beyond Fitness first arrive? And did you believe in it immediately?
Okay, so it arrived during my transition from deciding whether I wanted to go to business school. So I was 3 years into my job at Helios, and I had come to Nigeria to for a board meeting for one of my portfolio companies. So I obviously wanted to exercise, and I booked everyone into a class at a gym. And then the coach was eating shawarma while teaching us. It was just a hot mess. And I was a little bit embarrassed because they were Nigerian too. And I was like, I promise we're not eating shawarma at the gym at 9 a.m. Like, it was just really awkward. And I was like, but I don't want to name any gym because, running a business is hard. However, that was unacceptable. I know. And I was just like, this is not okay. And, it was smelling. The equipment was not working. And I just thought, Africa needs to, as a Nigeria, needs to be setting the standard in some way. It's not always that we have to copy. We can also set the standard globally. So that was my first annoyance. I was just angry. Then the second one was, I know that there's a struggle to find safe spaces in Nigeria, especially people who are high achieving. Because you have to put on this armor sometimes, otherwise people will take you for granted, right? So I wanted to find a space where you could build community with like-minded individuals, but also get a great workout that's efficient and done by a good coach, right? That thinks about music, safety, and just efficiency. So that was the seed sown. Now, did I believe in it? You see, I'll say I did, but I'll say it was baby faith because I did. Then I got pregnant and then I didn't because I was freaking out. I was like, I want my security back. I want my health insurance back. I actually almost canceled the whole thing, but the landlord refused to refund me. because we had paid for 2 years up front at my home and at the studio, right? And after he said no, I was like, actually, you know what? Let me put on my big girl pants. It's going to be okay. So I tried to dip out when I got pregnant during the fundraise. And then I had to just really think, like, what's the worst that can happen? Really, truly. Because it's okay if it didn't work. But if I don't do it, then I would always wonder, should I have tried? And that's what kept me going.
And can you talk about the fundraising process? Because when we were doing research, we saw that you even lost investors. So I want to understand what happened, especially being pregnant. Like, there's a lot going on all at once.
Yeah. So I started to raise, and I got that initial sense of, excitement, because the first 250K was really easy. So ended up raising about $1 million. And the first 250K was just from colleagues and friends. So everyone I had worked with across the 3 institutions I'd worked. Then I started to dip into, okay, let me see if I can get VC type funding. Now, if I wanted to start a fund at that point, it would have been much easier. If I wanted to do a fintech, it would have been much easier because I used to cover fintech. If I wanted to do oil and gas, it would have been easier because of my background. But I said I wanted to set up a physical location in Nigeria, and I was based in London. I mean, that was already a stretch. Then as I was fundraising, I got pregnant and it was not planned, right? So I tried to hide it as much as possible. My bump was getting visible. I had literally signed the term sheet with this Russian VC guy. So he owns like yoga retreats around the world. I thought it was a great fit. And then I go to the final meeting and he's like, oh, that's it. Is that a cute bump over there? And I'm like, oh, yes, it is. I was just really shy, but he was like, oh, you're pregnant. And it's like, okay. And it's like, you know what, let's just give it another week. And by the next week, he's like, look, pregnancy changes so much. And he was going to be my anchor investor, like bringing like the bulk of it because he was a strategic investor. So he's like, look, you may not want to do this later. You could give birth. I don't know if you're going to want to do this. If you're going to execute, it's going to be really hard. I would rather wait until you have this done, you have the baby, and that was it. So he was one of the 4 investors that decided not to invest because of the pregnancy. And at first, I was really bummed because you feel that innate belief that I can do this. Like, pregnancy does not define me. If anything, motherhood will give you clarity and efficiency. But because I wasn't sure myself at that point, I hadn't been pregnant before, I had to go through the bout of self-doubt inflicted by that rejection. And then it really took me months to mentally get out of that space and keep going. So it was pretty difficult, but almost like deciding to rest and just not completely give up helped me get through.
We created the Afropolitan podcast because we wanted to make sure we tell the stories of those who came before us and those who are coming in front of us.
Our stories deserve to be documented and remembered.
And over here at Afropolitan, our drink of choice is Inveroche, which is a gin from South Africa, because we believe African brands are global. So Eche, what are you toasting to?
To our builders, our innovators, to show that Black brilliance exists worldwide.
I am toasting to African creativity. I feel like the world is just blossoming with beautiful African storytellers.
Here's to legacy.
And stories worth sharing. And can we talk about, this part around pregnancy and even just being a woman and fundraising? Because I haven't been pregnant yet. Knock on wood. But I remember when I was fundraising, I had the same issues, right? They see you're a woman, they kind of look like, oh, you're going to get married at one point. You may not want to do this business anymore. Did you feel some type of way? Did you have to defend yourself, right? Because even though you said you may have not had full conviction, but at this moment, you're still fundraising, right? And so I think that is strong enough.
So yes, we'll always be underestimated. I think we have to just accept that and then know that it can't change our, trajectory. However, one thing I noticed I did was I also had to work on myself because I didn't give myself enough margin or room to make mistakes. And I've been very critical about every single thing I've done because I feel like I have to outperform and overcompensate because I had to prove them, wrong. And I think what I would do differently is actually just move with ease, knowing that actually I know I can do it. And if anything, we're such good executors, right? We know how to multitask, we juggle, we are very resourceful. So just knowing that I'm being confident in that adaptability and resilience well, I won't doubt myself again. But during that process, yes, I had to defend myself, and I was very clear about my historical records, right? So engineering, of course, not many females. Investment banking, not many Black females. Private equity, not many Black females. And it never deterred my results. So it looked like getting testimonials from my old bosses, asking them to call up people I had worked with before, showing who I had worked with before that was on my cap table. That's how I defended myself. But just kind of speaking up and not going in silence. Because there are times where they say something that's a bit out of order, and then you just keep quiet because you're just like, oh, let me just let that slide. Now I will actually address it, but not in a confrontational way. More like understand the root cause why they're saying it. It's like, oh, you're female, but how are you going to juggle Nigeria and making things happen? It's like, actually, no, I have portfolio companies in Nigeria, and I've had to sit in board meetings, and there's a way to do X and Y. And I was raised there. So just really addressing them and nipping it in the bud, because perception is reality, really helps me along the way as well.
And I also want you to talk about reinventing yourself, right? Because the path you had for yourself was, I'm in finance, I'm climbing the ladder, I'm one of the few Black women executives, very clear story, right? So the story now that you have to tell yourself is, I'm back in Nigeria, I'm a woman, I'm running a fitness business. How did that reinvention look like for you?
It started with me, right? Because honestly, throughout my life, everything had been clear and very ranked. In high school, you get like your grades. In university, you get your first class or whatever. And then at work, you get ranked and you get your bonus based on your rankings. And there's a way you carry your shoulders so high. Oh, I work in finance, So I had to do that self-assessment of like, what is my identity, right? And it might sound very simple, but it took me a long time to not even introduce myself with my past accolades when talking about beyond, or to think about, okay, who am I outside of work? So that then gave me the freedom to just decide to do whatever I wanted. And I think even starting from the fact that I moved from engineering to finance to wellness, reinventing yourself is not just, it's not just about, doing whatever you want. It's also very powerful, because when you do it once, you then realize that actually, as long as you have the framework of success and you believe innately in the things you can do with God, then you can actually do anything, because everything is, you can learn anything in this environment. You can utilize your network. And then if you try it out, then you change it up again. So just having that freedom to know that it's okay to try. And if it doesn't work, you try something else. That's what really got me through, and not being defined by my job title.
Simi, so you moved back to Nigeria with a global vision, right? What was the biggest cultural shock for you?
It has to do with people. It's such a tough one, because there's a lack of social security. And then if you have empathy, you're now working, or I guess you've now built a business that has a range of different types of workers. So there's always going to be something wrong with someone. And you now need to learn to have boundaries, because the premium shege you see, if you're kind, is just it's so heartbreaking that you don't want to change who you are, but then you need to quickly learn boundaries. Otherwise, you'll just be used for breakfast. Like they'll finish you. So I think one, dealing with people and knowing how to motivate people across different classes, different segments, knowing how to manage even the privileged people here who behave differently in Nigeria to the way they'll behave in the UK or the US, right? I think I had to approach it with a lot of humility, and also learning from others who'd done it before me, because I didn't know everything, and I had no experience with that. I had experience dealing with board executives, C-suite executives, but not the everyday Nigerian. From the government worker that will come and then look at you, then if you don't speak Yoruba well, another problem. If you look like you're 5, like I look really young, another problem. As a woman, another layer. So dealing with people in Nigeria, you have to put things in place to also guard you and safeguard your sanity, right? Whether that looks like having someone interface with the government people so it's not you, or having the humility to just understand that it's not about you when people act out, and then having the boundaries so people don't take the piss and keep asking for more and more, then I think you can sort of get more balance. But it's very hard at the beginning, and it's not something you can learn from someone else. You have to experience it.
Was there a moment where you ever felt, did I make a mistake coming back?
Yes, many times. I think you guys will probably relate, but entrepreneurship is a roller coaster, right?
Highs and lows.
The lows can be so low.
Too low.
And then you have to dig deep and just like, for me, actually, it's kind of going back to God. And I'm like, God, like, what's the plan? And I remember seeing one of my old bosses and I almost whispered, I'm ready to come back, But it took me a lot of time to say, actually, I'm going to do this full on, not one foot in, one foot out. Because frankly speaking, through the first 3 years, especially during COVID, when I was in the middle of construction, I had kind of run out of money. I wasn't really sure when COVID would end. Nobody knew. People were losing their lives. So things seemed a bit more deeper than a business. So I was like, I don't know if I can survive this. Like, what am I? That was one low where I just thought, I mean, of course, we reinvented, we were doing stuff online, but scaling a business online is a completely different strategy, completely different resources requirement than a physical business. And I questioned myself, and I think my husband was like, Frank was like, yeah, the worst thing, we'll just move back. Don't worry. It's okay. Like, we'll make some calls. It's going to be fine, but just sleep on it. Right. So learning how to make a decision when I was upset, sad, hungry, or sleep deprived was always very helpful. And then sort of going back to God to ask for a blueprint. Maybe if I can't see A to Z, just show me A to B. And I think approaching it that way helped me navigate that period. Now I'm just like, I don't believe my thoughts, because you can't believe everything you think. Yeah. So I think just shooting back with the vision, which I've written down, or even Bible verses, like actually don't be anxious for anything, has helped me now. So now I'm more on the offense than defense, like I was like a few years back.
Wait, do you have the Bible app on your phone?
I do.
That was the verse today, right?
Oh my God, yes! That's what I was thinking. Literally, I was like, that's the verse today. I'm glad we read it this morning.
Yes.
We up.
Yes. No, honestly, I love the Bible app.
Awesome.
Yes.
Because I was like, that was definitely the verse today.
Yes.
For sure. I think the other question I had was, sorry, we just had a whole Bible verse. I was like, yo, because if not, I would be like, yo, these algorithms are wild. So I think story time, real quick. How I got into Beyond. Chika would leave the house and be going to the gym.
Tell this story well.
She'd be going to the gym.
No, I know where you're
for like 3 months straight, right? Actually, I wasn't going to go there, but since you brought it up, we can go there.
I'm now excited.
For 3 months straight. And so she's like, AJ, come with me to the gym. My perception of the gym was the shawarma place we were talking about. I'm like, I'm not going to leave my house. I can walk around. I'm not going. It's not going to be that type of party. Yeah. So anyway, this one day, she now says, AJ, just come. Like, I was like, you know what? I've told my therapist I'll start doing things more with my wife. Let me just take her word for it. So I go to this place. I go to Beyond, and it's a spin class. I'm like, which one's spinning? I thought you said it was gym.
Would you even do the gym?
I was like, I would have done the gym, but it's not to lift weights. But I was like, spin. Okay, cool. I've never really done spin, so let's give it a try. From the bike riding to the music, it was just like, wow. And then 45 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, wow. There's so much that's just been unlocked. One, to do the same amount of calories or walking, I like to walk. You have to walk like almost 90 minutes or an hour or 2 hours. 45 minutes, I'm gone. Okay, great. 2, AC. 3, music that's really well curated. But I think the fourth thing, or actually the most important thing when I walked in there was somebody cared. Like somebody cared. And I think in navigating Nigerian spaces, whether it's with services or goods or products, I think when you can look at an item or a service business and say somebody cared, right? And that care is shown in how everything shows up in this space. I usually love it because it's very rare to see. And I think my question with that is, how have you maintained that sort of excellence, especially in an environment where a lot of times mediocrity is being celebrated?
Mm-hmm. It's a really good question. Thank you. Thank you, Chika, for tracking.
Also, I didn't actually finish the story.
Okay, I can't
So then Chika,
okay, tell me.
who had been going there for 3 months.
Yeah.
I've not been going
who
there
had been
for
going there
3
for 3 months. I hit my first 50 rides before her. So help me understand.
Oh
how that's possible.
Okay, first of all,
But
high
hold
five.
on.
Thank you.
That
Yeah,
was
high five.
Help,
And
help
then-
me understand how
that's
that's
actually
possible.
not what happened. So actually,
Explain yourself.
So I actually been going to Beyond way before that. I think I even went to a few.
Even worse.
I even went to a few classes before we even met.
Mhm.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
But to be fair, right? I've always been a bar girl.
I was gonna say, you should be on Barbie.
Yeah, I'm a Beyond bar girl. Like that's my thing. So if you even look at my schedule this week, there's no spin. There has been spin on my thing for weeks. So
Simi, these excuses.
he's
No,
the
no, but I
spin
love
warrior.
These
You
excuses.
can thrive in different
She
ways.
got me
She's a bar
into-
baby.
I don't
You're-
understand what we're
it's
saying.
all right. No,
She's the
it's-
one who got me into spin. You brought me somewhere. Next
But
thing you
you,
know, you're
I
saying,
told
"Eche,
you go
you're
to
at
bar.
50."
You don't want to go to bar.
First of
So
all,
men do bar. By
No,
the way.
that's great for them.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the one that Shisha brought me into, I lapped her. So I'm like, I'm not understanding. You say you'll be coming here for 3 months. She now said, I was doing bar, I was doing this. I'm like, I'm not, this story is long.
So
Help me
ooh.
understand. My wife said she had been leaving the house, going to the gym. How did I reach 50 before her? Please help me understand.
Okay.
I'm sure you guys have
It really-
records because she's
yeah,
saying
no,
that.
I know. It really
She said that it was mostly bar. So please.
no, but it really sounds like she's like mixing it up. And then
Yes.
you've just doubled down. And
Yes.
both are great. Like you do what you
Consistency.
love and optimize later. So consistent queen, shout out to you.
Yes.
And 50 rising up, shout
Thank
out to
you.
you.
Thank
So
you.
you're both
Thank you.
winners.
Thank
Yes,
you.
yes.
So we should
Thank
get,
you.
don't worry.
A full 5 classes difference, by the way, just so you know.
Oh my
Took her 5 more classes to get to 50. but-
Babes, let her
Please
answer.
go
Thank
on.
Oh my
you.
goodness.
Please go
No,
on.
wait. Well, now back to the question. Okay, yeah, caring. Deeply,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. So to be honest, my husband makes fun of me that I care too much about too many things and that it must be exhausting. And it's true. I care. And I fuss about the details. Now, in terms of the team, they're amazing because most people who come to Beyond, you're only hired because you care about people. If I know that you don't have a heart of service, because there's nobility in service, but it takes a certain mindset to believe that, especially in this country where nobody wants to be serving anyone else, right? So I try to test for that as much as possible during the interview process, where I feel like competence can be taught effectively, but that mindset and value system can't be taught easily. So when we have that, and then you help them understand the why is your job important? So the cleaners and the cleaning crew, they also get like shout outs every single day because people come to Beyond because it's clean. So I'm like, you guys are so important to the business and this is why. And when we get reviews that talk about what they do, I would show them as well and say, wow, shout out to you guys. Here is like, a treat for this, or this is why you're doing so well. On the flip side, when things are not up to standard, I keep reminding them that, look, we're not a Nigerian business just in terms of, what we're doing now. Think day to day of like the global business we're trying to be. And I think reinforcing that from day one, everybody's very clear what we're trying to do, has helped them care more about the details. And everyone on the team has that excellent culture and I'm so grateful for them. Yeah.
So one thing I want to ask is, what is one belief you learned in banking that you had to unlearn while running Beyond?
That's a really good question. Yes. So banking is all about everything has to also look really pretty, right? Your presentation slides, you have to do them well. In fact, you can get comments like, why is there a double space there? And I still have that trait, but when it comes to running Beyond, sometimes that's not my problems. The challenges are bigger than that. It's literally like there's no power. Diesel is like skyrocketing. How am I going to make sure the unit economics make sense? How do I motivate these people to not give up, because we've dealt with a challenging customer? So I think it's just going down to the human element, right? Of what makes people motivated? How do I empower this person to understand that they can do more and act better because they know they can do more? It's so different from the curated slides and the, English I was speaking before. Here, you kind of have to go down to the level of who you're dealing with, whoever that is, and actually speak to them in a way that they understand beyond the aesthetics, and I'm not saying aesthetics don't matter, but at the end of the day, it's about excellence, not performance, right? So excellence does not have to be no mistakes. And I'm still learning this. It's just giving it your best and continuously improving. So I think changing that mindset completely, it sounds simple, but it was a challenge. You have to choose your battles too. Some people will send you work that has potential. Just look at the potential so you don't give yourself high blood pressure and keep improving on what they're doing. So I think just having to manage that expectation of the talent pool is different. There are great people here, but not the way you would think. You have to be a bit more flexible, and then hire for everyone else's gaps instead of finding one unicorn is sort of what I had to learn.
And another layer to that question is, as you said, banking, it's polished, it's presented, it's at this certain level versus you now basically getting into the gym, getting into nitty gritty. So how did you work on that identity, that new identity that you had to present to the world?
It was by force and fire, because when we opened, we didn't have many people on the team. So I think I did every role apart from, I may have washed the toilet before at Beyond, honestly, at the beginning stages. And it could be cut to clean and not show up. Now, of course, again, I care too much. I can let the toilet be dirty, or I can be like, this should not be the standard. And I think what encouraged me was showing the team how much I was willing to do and how hard I would work, also help them emulate the same standard. Because if I was just sat in the banking way, delegating everything, not even doing it myself at all, it would be a very different, ask from me to say, oh, the team has to be excellent all the time. But they had to watch me do every role and do it with complete humility. Because at the end of the day, yes, I've had great experiences and I'm so grateful for that. But the difference between two people really is it could have been any other way, right? God just put you in that family at that time for a reason. So having to really grasp that, and embrace humility, deep, not fake humility, which I had before, where it's like, oh, I mean, down to do anything. Let me just see how this can work. Helps me change that identity. And then also having to deal with difficult customers sometimes, right? Or even team members where everyone can be difficult at some points. You can wake up on the wrong side, but not taking it personal, right? Deciding that everything was not about me. You don't have to take things personal. Really helped me, because if you really think about it from another lens, they could have just gotten bad news. They could have had something really bad happen to them before. It's not about you. Help them navigate through, give them grace. That's also helped me redefine my identity. So when things are going wrong, I'm like, okay, there's something to learn here. It's not about me. And we just keep getting better. This is not the end of the story. That's what's getting me through.
And also, this is kind of a random question, but I think it's pertinent because personally for me, right, when I step into Beyond, I've actually seen quite high profile people enter your gym, right? And it's almost like they come in there and they remove this persona they have outside and they enter and they're now just with the gym. So what do you feel like values you've put so people drop that do you know who I am elements that they always bring to everywhere? And I've seen it. I mean, we've seen a viral clip of another gym owner. We won't say no names. It enters in every single place. So how have you removed that?
So one, treating everyone with respect, even down to our security. So starting with my team, I always respect my team, right? Whether it's how I greet them, remembering their names, encouraging them. Because when you feed into your team, they will then pour into others that come in. And if they know that we don't treat people differently because it's part of the value system and everybody matters, whether you are a celeb or a politician or whatever, you still get the same excellent service because you deserve, every human deserves that. So I think starting with the team then doing it to others, and then seeing that, okay, with consistency, if I'm consistent and I know that I am kind, thoughtful, intentional, without expecting anything back, people will then realize, actually, they don't want anything from me, so I can come and relax here away from the chaos, So doing that first and then emphasizing what we're selling. We're not selling workouts, actually. We're selling an escape from the chaos of Lagos in terms of the Beyond VI studio. We're selling physical and mental empowerment. And if people know that, okay, they're doing something hard that they couldn't do before in a space where they're welcome all the time, consistently, then they become a lot more vulnerable because they're sweating together, doing hard things together. That's how it works.
That is so true.
Yeah.
I feel like I've built relationships beyond from that as well. We love to celebrate bounce back stories, right? But what part of your story still feels tender?
So going from having a local one studio to going to the global studio, that a global business that I know we will be by God's grace, is such a delicate season for me right now. So going back a year and a half ago, I was pregnant and I had serious health challenges, I actually went off the radar, right? Because I was really struggling and I just tried to strip off things that were taking time to just reconnect with myself. And I always tell my team, and I say this to my family as well, that I feel like I'm in a bamboo season. You know how with the bamboo, the root grows for like 5 years and then it shoots up and then it sprouts and grows like many feet tall in days, right? So I feel like I'm in the preparation phase of what is to come. Because when I think of the speed that I would have liked, it's not the same. But I'm actually okay with that because I have 2 amazing kids that I will not trade the world for. And when you have kids, of course, yeah, people say you can juggle it all. But the pace I work and the pace I do things now is very different from the way I did before. And I'm actually okay with it. But it took me time to be okay with it. So the tender phase is the hardship of entrepreneurship. I don't think it will get easier, but I think we all just build that strength and resilience with it. The tenderness of being a young couple together, while raising kids, while doing business together. We have to admit that it's hard and actually invest in the therapy, the courses, the coaching, so we can deal with it with the tenderness that it deserves. And it's such a delicate time and things don't break overnight. It starts with the micro stuff. So for me, I'm preparing, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, because it would only get greater in terms of the responsibility. And I want to make sure I'm well equipped to deal with these things without losing the joy in the process.
It's so funny because I feel like I can just relate to everything you just said. Silicon Valley, finance, move fast and break things. And I think for the last year or two, it's just, I don't know if it's moving fast and breaking things. It's working out. And just being able to just slow down. But you also then get to see when you're slow, how people who've known you to be fast view you, right? Because you'd be like, oh, so this is how it conditioned you to view me over time. And you're like, no, like something has to change
100%.
Here, If your daughter was to observe the season of your life, right? What would you want her to understand about particularly the season of your life watching this interview?
You guys are your deep questions. So I would want her to see that it's okay to adapt to what is going on around you, right? And there are seasons in life, just like nature, flowers bloom at a certain point. And sometimes even the weather changes, whether it's spring, autumn, just to know that it doesn't mean that every season isn't purposeful, but it doesn't have to look like what you imagine it to be. It's better to go with the flow and actually just surrender. Because one of the biggest things I've struggled with is control and planning. But navigating motherhood and entrepreneurship at the same time has forced me to surrender. And it is still a process that I'm undergoing right now. And I want her to see that it's okay to surrender. It's okay to make mistakes and trust that as long as you have that backing from God, everything will be okay. Because I'm still learning that today. Every single day, I'm still learning that.
I love that.
Yeah.
What does global success for Beyond look like? Manifest.
Ooh. Okay. So it looks like Beyond being a reference for excellence in the wellness world because of how we treat people and how lives are impacted by being part of the community. It looks like having different products and services across wellness. So going into longevity, going into holistic solutions for people. It looks like multiple studios across the continent and beyond the continent. It looks like having the best trainers and best, almost like the Wakanda of fitness, right? Where we can set the standard, right, for Africans and people of color by us, instead of trying to rely on other brands internationally for premium wellness experiences. It looks like building a network of amazing people who are lifting each other up through different things in their own personal lives because they've bonded together in the spaces we've created. It looks like wellness retreats across the world as well, So I would say that's how I'd summarize. That's how I summarize what Beyond looks like.
Wait, speaking of that, so I just went to,
Yeah.
I believe this is your first one, right?
It's actually our third.
Our third.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe I wasn't.
But it's
in
our
the
biggest
country.
one till date.
Okay, it's
Yes.
the biggest one. Okay.
Yes.
So tell me about it. You know, how did it go? What was the hard parts? Because I personally enjoyed my experience there, to a point where I shared it on my Instagram story, and so many people globally DM me was like, "Where is this at?" Right. So I definitely feel like people even outside of Nigeria would be interested in experiencing this type of wellness retreat, especially because a lot of people don't know. People are very into like African holistic treatments, fitness, things of that nature. So I think there's a huge opportunity there as well.
Well, introduce it for, I guess, like, what are you talking about?
Okay. Well, I want you to actually introduce like this wellness retreat that Beyond had at Simi. It was really lovely.
Yeah. So we coined it Beyond on Tour, and it's taking the best of Beyond experiences, you know, great movement, the community across spaces that sort of encourage wellness, encourage that bonding experience away from the typical day-to-day fitness experience you have in the studio, where we just go somewhere different, taking it outdoors, taking it to spaces that are natural in our environment. Because, you know, at Beyond, we have the lights, you have the sound, but just more being in tune with nature and taking the people out of that space is what we're trying to do. Now, we're going to do this across the continent at some point, but we started with Nigeria. So the first one we did was at Tiffany Amber with R&R Luxury. The second one was at Lagos Motorboat Club. And the third one was the Simi, which was really special because I think it's such a breathtaking space where, you know, there's so many high rises, not very many plants. And Nigeria is really beautiful. You don't have to go to Bali to feel that oneness with nature. So if we can cultivate our natural, you know, environment here, we can obviously do magic with it. So Beyond on Tour, the third edition, was really about going across the spectrum of moving together, sweating together, getting sort of high achieving individuals that push themselves so hard on their day-to-day, they're everything for everyone, but just take a moment for themselves to just reconnect and escape that, you know, madness and the demands of their lives, with other like-minded people across like exercising, recovery, getting that wellness talk, getting that reset to come back and just feel rejuvenated. So this third one was special because for the first time, knowing that I can't do everything by myself to go very fast, I'm like, okay, let's collaborate more and I'm still open to that, by the way. But the issue with that is, remember I said I like control. You lose control on some certain elements. So starting with Nigeria, the bus was meant to leave the studio by 6:30 or by 6 o'clock. And you know, in Nigeria, they won't tell you what's going on. They'll say, we're 5 minutes down the road. So we were meant to take a bus there. You know, there were about 37 people at the studio from 5:45 a.m. These are people that have woken up, left their houses to show up, right? So I'm on the way to Ekpe, Simi, right? And I call the studio and they're like, oh, the bus has not arrived, we're still there. So I do a U-turn and I'm like, no. I have to come and find out what's going on. We can't have 37 people there. So I get out of the car and I'm like, let me call this bus guy. So I told myself, please send me the owner's number. And it's like, oh, I'm on Saka Tinubu. I'm just down the road. I'm 5 minutes away. That 5 minutes turned to 1 hour. So it was now 7. I'm like, okay, I'm coming to drive. I'll drive to you. Send me your spot on WhatsApp. He sends me a spot. I get there. There's just a random car there. And he's like, oh, I'm waiting for all the bus drivers. It's now 7:30. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, there are 37 people waiting. We're meant to start at 7:30. It's an hour and a half away. So I'm just like, you know what? I could either continue waiting for this guy to tell me 5 minutes for another hour or 2 or whenever. It may never come. So I headed back to the studio, started asking people, okay, is your driver here? Is your driver here? Can he come back? We carpooled. So I bunched every single person into different cars, including mine. And then we drove there. So that was the start of just like chaos on the day. Then power cuts, you know, random like food mix-ups, just different things that could go wrong. But the beauty of it was that, again, it wasn't about perfection, thankfully. The first encouragement I had was, as I got there, completely disoriented, feeling so horrible about the whole morning, everyone was cheering and I was just so taken aback by that. I literally almost cried. I'm like, wow, there's so much power in community. If people are like-minded and really, truly want to see each other win, the grace they extend is just beautiful. Like,
Amazing.
I was just so wowed by that. And then even through the day, as things didn't unfold as they planned, everybody just navigated and we did something else. And it was still powerful. It was still beautiful. It was still a success. But that's the power of the Beyond Tribe. I have to give it to them, right? It wasn't even about me. It was about them. They made the best of what they had. There was that power of, we're one. They lifted me up at the time of, my lowest really, because it was meant to be an amazing event. I had thought about it end to end. It didn't work out that way. And everyone still had a great time. So shout out to the Beyond Tribe.
And it's also important when you've earned grace too, right? Because I think what happens is sometimes you're so hard on yourself, but everybody else who's like-minded like you knows how this country goes. So they've already extended that grace to you pre whatever is happening, number one. But number two, just realizing, like, I think the same thing happened with me when I used to do concerts and Wizkid canceled like 4 days before the show. I'm facing bankruptcy and I'm like, yo,
My goodness.
what is going to happen? And, the community was just like, a lot of people in the community was like, no, we'll extend credit. Like, we'll use it for future events, right? And I think in that moment, I was like, wow, like people have seen your track record, right? So they know like Simi's not going to have us out here at 5:30 a.m. stranded, right? So whatever has happened, she's actively trying to fix it. What do you want to be remembered for, Simi, when it's all said and done?
2 things really. 1, that I'm a sign of God's love to others. And then 2, for my courage. Those are the 2 big things.
So we have this rapid fire, lighthearted closing questions, right? Just quick, right? So you just give us your quick answers to these questions. What's the song that always gets you through a hard day?
Withholding Nothing.
By who?
I don't even remember. I surrender it all to you.
Okay, is it a gospel song?
Yes, it is. Withholding Nothing. I don't want to start singing here. But brain freeze, I don't remember who, but that's on repeat.
Okay.
That's on repeat.
If you weren't building Beyond, what would you be doing?
Ooh. I can't think of what else I'll be doing.
Wow.
Truly. I'm exactly where I need to be.
I love it.
Yeah.
Bar or cycling? What's your true favorite?
Bar.
Really? I must come and check out this bar we talked about.
No, you let's see what happens.
Most overrated wellness trend right now.
The whole ice bath thing for your face in the morning.
Ice bath.
Like, it's just, you don't need to do that.
Okay.
You just don't.
Best lesson Lagos has taught you?
Control is an illusion. Yeah.
Wait, I have a question. What's your favorite food?
It's so standard. It's actually jollof rice.
Really?
It's jollof rice. Really smoky jollof rice and spicy chicken does it for me.
Okay.
What's the one thing motherhood has made you better at and one thing it's humbled you in?
I'm better at extending grace and for myself and others. And one thing I struggled with, or what do you...
And one thing it's humbled you in?
Humbled me. I think it has to do with, funny enough, it may not seem relatable, but changes in the human body and how much a human can do. Going through labor in the birth center, there's no epidural, there's nothing you can do.
Wait, a birth center?
Yeah, we can talk about it after, don't worry. But it was an amazing experience.
I'm curious,
wow,
I'm curious.
This is really, really painful. It's really hard. So I think just seeing that the human body can actually go through a lot and bounce back is very humbling. And then it reminds you that there's definitely a higher force, because it's crazy, like pushing your whole baby out and then you're walking the next day and they grow up and they start talking back and it's just wonderful. Yeah. So,
wait, how did you make that decision? I'm curious. To go to a birth center.
So it's a mixture of your decision and your doctor. So you have to get sign off because some pregnancy is actually high risk. So you need a doctor in person. So just to take a step back, a birth center is run by midwives. So everything is sort of all like natural, where you are going with the rhythm of your labor pangs. You can do a water birth. You can have gas and air if you want to help relieve the pain. And then that's it. So you're focused on breathing, moving around. And for me, because I've always been a physical person, funny enough, surgery makes me nervous. And I think it's important to know thyself when you're going through something quite like scary or something that's new. So I always knew that I wanted somewhere that was quite zen, not sterile, that would keep me calm to get the best out of my birth. Now, I was open-minded. So in my plan, I had, if I need to be cut up, please take me straight to, because you had to be open-minded. But I knew that I could pray for what I wanted and write down what I wanted while being flexible. Now, with the first child I had, because I'm quite short and narrow, as the doctor said, he didn't want to sign me up for the birth center because I carried really heavily. So they thought my baby would have been 3.5 kg at 36 weeks, which is quite heavy because they grew even more by the end. So I had to advocate for myself and see the midwife and fight for that. The second time round, it was a similar issue, but because I had done that the first time, they were happy to let me use the birth center. So I think it's important to do what you're most comfortable with the flexibility that anything can happen, and prioritize your health and baby's health, because you had to just go with the flow. Yeah, you have to.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
One more.
She always does
we
this.
ask every guest this question.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I've been out of practice. So here at Afropolitan Podcast, we always ask every guest, who do they want to see on this podcast? Whose story do you want to see told?
It's a really good question. You just have to bring my husband back here. Here rather, not back, yeah. Frank Williams, yes. You should come and tell his story.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. I want that actually.
Yes. Yes.
I love that. You're pushing it. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
See how alignment works?
These men, man. Like,
well, thank you so much, Simi.
Thank you,
guys.